topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We have got an incredible show for you for the next 25 minutes. We are going to be talking about probably one of the most popular topics when it comes to health. We're going to be talking about weight loss. We're going to be talking about nutraceuticals. And it is going to be an amazing hour. So let's sit back. This is a brand new expert that we've just added to the show, and it's the Victory Wellness MD. If you want to go to their website, it's www.v as in Victor, WM as in Mary, D as in David, functionalmedicine.com. You can find out their phone number, all their information, and one of their vendors is with us today. Let me introduce you to Casey Sartori. Hey, good afternoon, Casey.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
We're doing good. Boy, I got to tell you, this is probably one of the most sought after topics in the industry of health. And I want to tell you this is, and I'm not afraid to admit it either. I am on the skinny injection.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
I got to tell you, it has changed my life. And we're going to be talking about side effects today and different areas of it. But I got to tell you, I have had no side effects whatsoever. I've been on it for about a year. I've lost about 35 pounds. But the thing that I noticed mainly was how my blood work has gotten so much better.
Sure.
And I think I guess, positive health issues that they're still discovering about these injections. But first of all, tell us about your company.
Some of the company called Orthomolecular Products, and what we do is unique, but we manufacture dietary supplements for nutraceuticals that are available exclusively through licensed healthcare professionals. So these aren't things that you can buy in your retail shops. These aren't things that you can safely and legitimately purchase on e-commerce websites like Amazon. They are only available through licensed healthcare professionals.
Well, I got to tell you, we have come so far in supplements. I myself take 4 or 5 different supplements. I swear by them, but I got to tell you, where supplements, nutraceuticals have come from over the years up until now, Casey, it's just amazing.
No, I would agree. And I also take that with a little bit of grain of salt, because we live in a very hyperbolic world where, unfortunately, the science in our industry hasn't caught quite up to where the marketing is. And there's, people have now kind of unlimited platforms that they can get on and express their own views and opinions. And there's a lot of information and misinformation out there about our industry, which again, the way that our products are used make them unique in that, the efficacy of our formulas is literally validated like every 15 minutes across the country by providers who are, like you mentioned, managing blood work and managing patient symptoms. So our things have to work, and they have to work in the clinical setting. So everything that we do as a manufacturer, whether it's raw material sourcing or dosing and formulations or manufacturing practices, the type of testing that we're doing, it's all of the absolute highest pedigree, because it has to be, right? We can't cut any corners. If we do, when our products stop delivering in the clinical setting, we don't have social media influencers selling our products. We don't have celebrities endorsing our products. Our products are sold exclusively to and through licensed healthcare professionals.
What are some of, there's got to be some exciting trends coming up in the supplemental industry. Can you share some of the exciting trends that have are coming up?
Yeah, well, I think we're seeing kind of a really unique, partnership, if you will, between some of these, the shots that you mentioned, your GLP-1 weight loss shots, and these companies who are really building protocols and launching products kind of in that same realm that are really coming alongside of these medications and helping people get really, really great outcomes, but at the same time, get really good lasting outcomes. So in my opinion, with the explosion of these GLP-1s, it's kind of created and these aren't necessarily new products. Sure, there's more interest in GLP-1 in our industry, but things to really support patients who are on these medications.
Are there, like I said, I've been taking the Ozempic one,
Mm-hmm.
and are there supplements that kind of complement when you're on this? I call it the skinny injection.
Sure, absolutely. I think the first place you have to look is just foundational nutrition, right? I mean, there's a lot of debate out there, but the standard American diet is simply void of a lot of just the foundational vitamins and minerals and essential fatty acids and fibers, etc., that we need. And then that's potentially even further exacerbated when you're on these medications and you're significantly reducing your caloric intake. So that's kind of where I start with a lot of these, is like, hey, let's make sure we're getting adequate amounts of these micronutrients. Let's make sure that we're keying in on specific amino acids and protein to help with the muscle loss that is really common with these medications. But more kind of, I think, more interesting is how, some of these natural products, the phytonutrients and polyphenols, how they're now being looked at, and the way that they can support your body's own production of GLP-1. And so now that there's things that we can do that can really come alongside of these medications, get you a better outcome, but more importantly, kind of protect that investment that you've made in your health, right? The effort, the financial resources that go into being on these medications. How do we help keep that weight off? And that's been, I think, probably the most exciting area of research in our space, is naturally working with the body to kind of modulate some of these hormones and peptides that are all involved in controlling appetite.
Casey, this is coming from me personally. When you're overweight and you go into a store and you try to get a supplement, say, it's going to curb your appetite.
Sure.
I never really found a supplement to do that, but I got to tell you that with this skinny injection, oh my God, I used to, I remember my days in Dallas going to Campese's Pizza and eating a whole pizza. Now I can barely only do one slice.
Sure.
How come it's so much stronger now than it has in the past? Because it's almost like it affects the brain almost.
Sure. Well, so glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1, it's a really important signal in the body that helps to control appetite, right? So, and like a lot of the things, you hear about like insulin resistance, we can build resistance to it as we kind of overeat over time. And so it just requires more and more GLP-1 to have any type of effect. What these shots are doing is effectively supplying an outside source of this satiety signal. And so now you're kind of flooding the body with it. And it's just essentially inducing perpetual satiety, right? You don't feel as hungry. You can't eat as much. And that's turning to be a really effective means in helping people manage their appetite and manage to lose weight. But there has been some, and I mean, these medications are sledgehammers, right? They work. You're experiencing it yourself. The GLP-1 world and the supplement space is something that's really kind of just evolved over the last couple of years. And so maybe it's just a timing thing, or, the different products that you've looked at in the past. But for instance, we launched a product into the market space called Hyphenolic, which is really unique in that it actually has data in humans showing to increase GLP-1 production. A lot of what you see in the retail world, they take cells in a petri dish and they expose them to some type of molecule, say a phytonutrient, and they do something with perceived benefit. And so then they extrapolate that into crazy marketing campaigns that these are going to have that's going to have this type of effect in humans, when it necessarily doesn't always play out. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of the supplement industry lives. I mentioned the marketing is so far ahead of the science. And when we formulate a product, we need to see efficacy. We need to see these things work in humans, and we need to see them demonstrate safety in humans. And so that's really cool about Hyphenolic. It's actually been shown in humans to increase GLP-1 production naturally. And again, not to the degree at which these medications do it, but it certainly does have a positive impact on weight loss and has led to more weight loss over placebo.
I got to tell you, my phone, which we promote for people who'd like to text a question in, is going berserk. First of all, most of them are all thanking us for bringing a show on like this. This is a lot for a first show.
Right.
I'm just
It's a big topic.
I'm amazed about how many people are writing in. Um, but here's a question from Jenny in Garland. She wants to know that uh, once you reach your goal, do you have to continue with the injection, or do you draw it back? How does it work when you've hit your goal?
Typically, yes, you see a weaning off of the medication once you approach your target weight. Now, the challenge in that is, and it's no secret that the rebounding effect is really real with these medications, and it kind of creates hypothetically it creates the perfect storm for weight gain, right? Which is obviously something that people want to avoid, especially those that have invested so much into losing weight. But with any, like an example would be, if I'm a man and I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, right? It's not even up for a debate. It suppresses the body's own production of testosterone. So now your body's kind of reliant on this outside source of testosterone. And the same thing is possibly true with these GLP-1s, right? Your body naturally produces GLP-1 to regulate appetite and other metabolic things. As you come off the medication, you've potentially suppressed your body's own production of GLP-1. And so appetite comes roaring back. And then there's kind of a second component to that too. And that is effectively through really severe caloric restriction, you kind of put your body into a state of deprivation, or you're in a deprivation mode, right? We're evolved to survive times of famine. And so we kind of switch out of this energy producing state into this energy conservation state where we hold on to everything. So it's kind of like your metabolism, right? Somebody says, like, I've got a high metabolism, it's really difficult for me to gain weight, or I've got a low metabolism, it's really difficult for me to lose weight. Theoretically, you've potentially significantly depressed your metabolism. And so as you come off these medications, you're missing that really important appetite suppressant, and you've also potentially significantly depressed your metabolism. And that's where high phenolics kind of come into the equation in a lot of practices, as a means to help to restore normal GLP-1 production naturally. And then there's also a second component to it that helps to increase your body's metabolic rate. Now, that's cell culture data, and we just talked about that. But it theoretically does potentially increase metabolism in these patients and kind of kicks you back into that energy producing state. So it's a really effective means to mitigate that potential rebounding effect that we commonly see in patients coming off these medications.
Uh, Casey, I'm going to throw this in because I know there's people who are thinking, do you prefer the injection in the stomach and the abdomen area, or the leg, or the arm? Where do you
That would
tell
be
you?
a question for Dr. Walden.
Okay. So this is what I want to tell people. I am the biggest baby when it comes to injections. I hate them. I hate blood work. I hate all that. I got to tell you, I was shocked that this injection, you don't even, I mean, there's been times I had to see if it was actually had broken the skin. It's such a small needle, but if that's your only concern, I'm telling you, don't worry about that because I'm the biggest baby when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think the benefits far outweigh getting stuck with a small needle.
What are some of the other great products that your company is working on?
Well, I mean, we've got, I think, another area of really exciting research in that space is some of these newer classes of prebiotics. We've learned so much over the last couple of years in the role that the gut microbiome plays in just metabolic health in general. Obviously, weight management being one of those, but there's some really cool strains of interest, bacteria strains of interest, and how they influence things like GLP-1 production. So, we're looking at things like Akkermansia, some really cool new phytobiotics, which are really plant fruit derived polyphenols that have a positive impact on gut bacteria composition and the downstream benefits to metabolic health, whether it's blood sugar or insulin resistance or appetite and weight management. But I mean, we've got a catalog of about 160, 165
Wow.
different products that range from stress to immune health to cardiovascular health to gut health. And of course, all these are available through Dr. Walden and her team at Victory Wellness MD.
Yeah, yeah, we really want to thank Dr. Walton and Victory Wellness MD for having you come on during their spot on our show. This is just such an important area that, in fact, by the amount of text that we're getting in, that uh, people are really interested in this area. Um, First of all, I want to compliment you on. I have heard so many good things about your company, and it sounds like you are really cutting edge.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a difficult industry to sift through the data, because there's a lot of just opinion-based science out there. There's a lot of kind of correlative science out there, but there is good science out there, and that's kind of the world that we live in, because we have to live in there. Again, we're not the company that chases around every shiny new penny. We're really rooted in science, again, because when we launch a product, the data has to be there to support its application, and be something that healthcare professionals can be confident in recommending and knowing that it's going to have a positive impact on the lives of their patients.
What is the difference between high phenolic and GLP-1 medications?
Well, so like I said, it's GLP-1 medications are a sledgehammer. I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm not saying high phenolic is anywhere near kind of in the ballpark of these medications, but I mean, they are effectively providing additional GLP-1 that's inducing satiety, both through how they signal in the brain and both how they work in the digestive tract. High phenolic is simply, again, a natural-based products. These are primarily polyphenols or plant compounds, in this case derived from lemon verbena and hibiscus flower, that have in combination shown to stimulate the production of GLP-1. So again, it's been involved in a couple different randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies in humans, and again had a significant impact on not just GLP-1 production, but also some of these other hormones of interest as it relates to obesity, like ghrelin, which is a hunger-inducing hormone. It actually was shown in that same study to suppress ghrelin production. So it's kind of multifaceted.
We just got a text from Mike and Richardson, and he wants to know about how often does the FDA come into your labs?
We are routinely audited by the FDA, so we get the lucky privilege of often being visited by them, and that's a uniqueness to us that we do manufacture our own products. We have a very robust in-house lab. We work with multiple third-party labs around the world. But what you have to understand is a large, and I'm talking 95+% of the retail industry don't actually manufacture their own products. They're manufactured in a warehouse that just does contract manufacturing. So they really don't have any control over manufacturing practices, where everything that we do is from, again, raw material sourcing to when that raw material comes into our warehouse, and the type of testing that happens there, to all the way through the manufacturing and bottling process, and the type of testing that happens post-batch. We control all of that.
Casey, I got to tell you, you've been a wonderful representative of your company, and we've come to the end of the show, and we want to thank Dr. Walden with Victory Wellness MD for having you come on for them, and they will be back with us again next month. We have a new show every month we'll be doing with them. And again, if you would like more information, you can go to www.V as in Victor, W, M as in Mary, D as in dog, functionsmedicine.com. Casey, you did a wonderful job. Thanks so much for coming on today.
I appreciate you having me.
And again, that's www.vwmdfunctionalmedicine.com. They'll be back again with us next month on Ask the Experts. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.